Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. Today on the show we are going to be talking Batman animated. That's right, I'm going to talk briefly about the new DC animated Batman movie that just came out on DVD and Blu-ray Tuesday, Batman and Harley Quinn, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Batman Gotham by Gaslight animated sneak preview that we got as well. So we're talking DC animated in the world of Batman this episode. So let's get to it, guys. Starting off, last night I got a chance to sit down and watch Batman and Harley Quinn, which is the newest DC animated movie from Warner Brothers Animation. Now the thing about this animated movie that kind of made it a little bit special is that you're pretty much treading on the territory of the old 90s Batman animated series. So with this one, you had Bruce Timm return as writer and producer on the film. And then you had Kevin Conroy coming back to voice Batman. And also you had Lauren Lester come back to voice Nightwing. So three of the staples of that classic 90s Batman animated movie are there in this film. It plays off pretty well as a connection to that animated series too. I thought it was okay. I mean, honestly, when it comes to the DC animated films of late, I've been actually pretty impressed with them. Ever since Flashpoint, the Flashpoint Paradox, I've really liked most of what's come out. I like the current Batman series they got with Son of Batman, Batman vs. Robin, and Batman Bad Blood. Excuse me, I really enjoyed those. I like Thrones of Atlantis. Maybe it's just because I'm an Aquaman fan. I don't know. And then you had the other ones like the Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. Maybe not such a fan of that one. I did like Justice League Dark, though. Now, this one was directed by Sam Lee. Is that how you say his name? Sam Lee? I can't say how it is. Anyway, he's the guy that's directed the last couple of DC animated movies. And to be honest, the last couple of ones are the ones I haven't been a fan of. So the last Batman anime movie we got was Batman the Killing Joke, based off the popular graphic novel or miniseries that a lot of people had issue with. It was pretty much with that, you took like the book, and that was like the last half of the movie, and the whole front part of the film was a completely different story. It was like they took two different stories, which honestly I enjoyed that first half, but it didn't fit with the second half of the film. So it felt like there were two different storylines meshed together just to make it one story or make it long enough to be a movie. Now this one, Batman and Harley Quinn, I think really relied on the fact that Harley Quinn had become such a popular character. I don't get it. I'm not a Harley Quinn fan, I'll go ahead and say it. But then I'm not a Joker fan. A lot of people are, obsessed with her, I guess her craziness, maybe her free spirit is maybe what they like, or maybe, I don't know what it is. But it's her and the Joker, and people are fascinated with their relationship and with her. I've never been. I've liked the character, I'm not going to lie. She first appeared in the 90s animated series. I thought she was a great side character to go along with the Joker. Like some characters, she became so popular in an animated series or television series that she sprang over to the comic books and has still been very popular to this day. Now in this one, she's not voiced by the original actress who voiced her in the 90s animated series. That would have been nice. She's voiced by, what is the actress's name? Melissa Rauch, that's right. She's from The Big Bang Theory on that popular television show. And she did a fine job, doing Harley Quinn. Perfectly fine. To me, the story was just, I wasn't as intrigued with it as I have been with some of the other ones. Like I said, I enjoyed, probably the last one I can honestly say I really enjoyed as far as the animated DC films was Justice League Dark. Before that, the Batman Bad Blood looks like. So I would say there, as far as interest for me, DC animated is probably about half and half on that. With this one, I like the nostalgia of it, going back to 90s Batman animated series, which today is still kind of the bar that most people are trying to reach, not only with superhero animated series, but also just superhero television in general, and kind of what it did for the genre. A couple of cool callbacks that it did. It was very much in the same style animation-wise as the 90s Batman animated. Both Nightwing and Batman and Harley Quinn looked exactly like they did in the animated series, although Harley did make the joke in the series about Nightwing cutting his hair, because in the original animated series he had longer hair. Even the Batmobile and the Batwing, same design as the animated series, which I thought was really cool. So it was all just, kind of a wink or a callback to that classic show. I kind of wish they got the same voice actress to do Poison Ivy from the show, that they could have gotten her to do this one, but didn't. That was fine. I'm okay with that. Again, it was entertaining. I don't know, because it was just something that you could tell was really put together to service the fans of the animated series, or to service Harley Quinn fans. I feel that people were like, "Ooh, Harley Quinn, she's really popular right now. Let's put her with a Batman animated, and maybe people will enjoy that." It didn't set right to me, because I'm not a Harley Quinn fan, but when you put something together that'll service the popularity of the current culture, that's not a good enough reason for me. I think you need to put something together that you think is a good story, and this already kind of treads on an episode of Batman the Animated Series where Batman had to work with Harley Quinn, got her out of Arkham to hunt down the Joker, because he had a bomb. He was going to blow up Gotham, so he had to work with her in order to find the Joker. Although I will say it is a fresh of breath air to have a Harley Quinn story that doesn't involve the Joker. That was kind of nice to see her in this storyline, and the Joker was pretty much almost non-existent. There was one minor reference to him, but that was it. So that was kind of nice to see the character out on her own without the Joker. But you also see kind of the ramifications of what the Joker has done to her. They do a good job of explaining Harley post-Joker, after getting out of Arkham. She can't get a job because, she was a supervillain or a villain and worked with the Joker for so many years, so she can't go back to her practice as a psychologist. So she's got a job as a waitress because that's the only job she can get. That kind of aspect of it I thought was really interesting. One thing I thought kind of weird, though, was her infatuation or her relationship with Nightwing. At the very beginning, Nightwing's tasked by Batman to bring her in, and they get a little squabble, and she ends up defeating him and tying him up. And then something pseudo weird happens where Nightwing is tied up, and he's kind of got this kind of attraction to her, which I'm sure, she's beautiful and, of course, half naked when they're talking. So I get that aspect, but I don't think Nightwing or Dick Grayson would ever lose his cool to that. He's been around Batman for too long, been too highly trained by Bruce to ever lose his cool, to be seduced by Harley like that. The way that kind of played out, I didn't see that working out too much. Sure, Dick is much more of a loose and fun character, or easygoing character, I guess, than what Batman is, but I still didn't buy Nightwing having this attraction to Harley Quinn. Another thing I enjoyed about the animated series was the bar scene. There's this one scene where Harley and Batman and Nightwing all go into, I guess you could call it a henchman bar, because you see all these henchmen from the Batman animated series that worked with people. So say, for instance, you have these two orange-haired twins that actually worked for Two-Face in a couple episodes of the animated series. You also saw, was it Ra's al Ghul's right-hand guy? I forget what the name of it is. He was in there as well. And then you saw these two guys from Catwoman. Now, Catwoman in the animated series didn't really have henchmen. She was kind of by herself. But they were actually henchmen from the Batman 1960s television show, the Adam West show, because they were dressed up just like him. And again, it had these little callbacks like that too. That whole scene was a callback, because then they started fighting, and then you have the band, the pals, and all that stuff to go along with it. So not only was this movie calling back to the 90s animated Batman, but also versions of Batman that were in there. I will say I am a little disappointed about how it all went down. To spoiler, guys, of course, this is kind of spoiling the end of the movie, so if you haven't seen it, pause it, come back to this. Basically, it ends with, what's Ivy's guy's name? He's not Swamp Thing. What's his name? Floronic Man. Who the hell is this guy? Floronic Man, also known as Jason Woodrow. He ends up wanting to destroy the world after Poison Ivy changes her mind, and Batman ends up lighting a match, and then he and Nightwing kiss Harley on the cheeks. It looks like they're about to set this guy on fire. And then it ends. It's like, okay, I get it. We assume they beat the bad guy. That's great. But why end it there? Why not actually show it? I mean, you've already done stuff like cuss words and flipping the finger. Just show us, lighting a plant guy on fire. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I don't get the ending. It wasn't satisfying for me. Another thing that wasn't satisfying was the appearance of Swamp Thing. At the end, he came out of the swamp, said a couple of mumbling words, and then came back. In the storyline, from the very beginning, we saw the phrase Alec Holland, which is who Swamp Thing was before he became Swamp Thing. So I was hoping we might see him in this film, but in a more active role. This was just some stupid cameo where he popped out of the swamp and then popped back out. Totally wasted. I don't know why the hell they did something like that, but it didn't work for me. And then finally, speaking of guest appearances, Bruce Timm himself actually did a small voice role in this movie where Batman was calling on other Justice League members to try to help him out to stop Poison Ivy. And he's talking to Booster Gold, voiced none other than by Bruce Timm. That was a cute little scene, gives you, of course, a little heads up as far as how other members of the League, especially Batman and Nightwing, view Booster Gold. But overall, the film was, I don't know, I don't think I'll ever see it again. So if you're a fan of the 90s animated Batman, which I'm sure most of you are or should be, you can check it out. But if you're looking for more than just a trip down nostalgia lane, I think you can skip this one. But luckily, the future of DC animated and Batman animated movies looks pretty bright, in my opinion. So coming up, they just released a new featurette about their new animated special that's about to come out, Gotham by Gaslight. And I gotta say, I'm pretty interested in this. So for those of you who don't know the original source material, this is the first kind of Elseworld comic or story that DC Comics did back in the day. It was written by Brian Augustine and drawn by Mike Mignola. For those of you who don't know, Mignola is the responsible for Hellboy. So he's got a name right there and a very unique style of drawing too. It's a lot of people like. I like it. I think it's cool. Anyway, in this Elseworld storyline, we're basically seeing Batman back in the 19th century, just before the turn of the 20th century. I believe it's set in 1889, and the original graphic novel is very simple, to where it was Batman back in Victorian era hunting down Jack the Ripper. I will confess, I have not read the book yet. I might go check it out though, just to get a better sense of it. But I'm very intrigued by this animated movie, a lot more than I was about Batman and Harley Quinn. I knew that was, a grab for attention, putting Harley Quinn in an animated feature after she's, become such a big name, even bigger after Suicide Squad movie played by Margot Robbie. With this one, it's like Batman is almost being Sherlock Holmes, where he's set in the Sherlock Holmes era. He doesn't have all his computers and technology and stuff to help him, so he's got to be a true detective in that sense. And I think it's fascinating. I'm very looking forward to it. I think it's going to be cool. Of course, Bruce Timm himself is executive producing this one, and as far as the story, he had this to say, quote, Batman in this story is a little bit more accessible. He's a little bit more human than what we're used to seeing. The subject matter is a little bit tricky for us because you're basically dealing with a serial killer who's murdered a bunch of prostitutes. It's pretty potent stuff. And the creative director, Mike Carlin, also said, quote, it shouldn't be just one character transported to another time. It should be all the characters in that hero's life. James and Barbara, Jason Todd, Harvey Dent, Poison Ivy, Selena Kyle, who's also trying to protect Gotham's women. And what he's referring to in this animated series was the original graphic novel, I guess, was basically just Batman hunting down Jack the Ripper. But what they've done for this animated series is taken all the supporting characters in Batman's life and thrown them into the mix as well, which I think was a great idea. The best idea, I think, was throwing in Selena Kyle. Of course, she's always been a great character next to Batman as far as her complicated relationship. I talked about on my Defenders podcast where I feel like Elektra has a lot in common with Selina Kyle, to where they're both considered bad guys, but they're more out for themselves, but they have that soft spot for the hero, aka Daredevil or Batman. And Selina, I feel like does more heroic things, really, than she does bad things. And in this one, she's got her own trail to follow and hunting down Jack the Ripper, pretty much to defeat this guy who's chopping up women. And this is good for this kind of era, having this female character, because we're right on the edge of the suffrage movement and what all that came to pass. I would love to see maybe a little bit of that in this film too, but to see this strong female character during this era, I think is a good way to go, and I think it makes a more interesting story for the movie overall. I'm a sucker for Elseworld stories. I love taking these characters that we know so well and putting them in different situations, whether it be time travel, alternate realities, stuff like that. I'm a big fan of these storylines, and I like period pieces too. I love watching a movie that is a period piece that is set during a certain time, even if it's just like 10 years ago or 100 years ago. I like that because I can go back and rewatch the film, and if it's supposed to be present day, but it's like 20 years old, it's like, it's lost a little bit of its flavor. But if you set something during, say, medieval times, and you know it's medieval times, and it's not present day, and you don't have all these pop culture references you're supposed to get. But with this one, Elseworld storyline, I like seeing, the characters we know differently, how would they be in different eras, in different worlds, stuff like that. So to take Batman and take who's essentially a detective and put him in that era, I think it fits, I think it makes sense, and I'm really interested to see what they do with this film. Now on the IMDb page for Batman Gotham by Gaslight, they actually don't have a lot of information. I'm looking at it right now, and the only actor or actress they have is Jennifer Carpenter from the show Dexter, and she is set to voice Selina Kyle. But I'm pretty sure, just based off the sneak preview, I think the guy they got to voice Batman is the same guy who's voiced Batman in present Batman animated movies, like the Justice League movies, Son of Batman, Batman Bad Blood, stuff like that. I think it's the same voice. I'm not 100% sure, but I know he's on board. And I'm really kind of curious the fact that they haven't actually put a director on here as well. I don't know if Sam Liu's going to be doing this one, or maybe Bruce Timm's going to take a step up. I don't know. I'm interested to see exactly what they do with all that. But in any event, I like this one. I'm very looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to another one coming out, is The Death and Return of Superman. Looks like it's third on their list of things to do, right behind the Suicide Squad animated movie. Can we just skip Suicide Squad movie? I mean, I don't even want to see a live-action sequel, let alone an animated movie to that. Can we just skip that one and go straight from Gotham by Gaslight to Superman? Maybe, please? Can we? Somebody? Oh, well. Alright, guys. That's it for me today. Let me know. Did you see Batman and Harley Quinn? What did you think about it? And also, are you excited or intrigued as I am for Batman Gotham by Gaslight? Let me know. Hit me up, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. You can also find me on the Facebook group or on Twitter. And personally, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, SlimDayspring12. That's it for me, guys. Until next time, may the Force be with us all.